Hey YouTube, I'm here with another video, and this one I just want to do a little something different and show you my all-time favorite books. So today I have 6 books that I consider my favorite books of all time, and I don't have one with me. I have no idea where it is, so I will start with that book, and it is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. That is her first fiction book that she ever wrote. And this book is important to me because it got me into the idea of studying how Black girlhood is portrayed in novels. So I read it one summer in undergrad, then I read it in grad school for a Toni Morrison English seminar, and I ended up writing a paper on it. It's the first book that made me cry, and it's all about this girl named Pecola Breedlove and her difficulty accepting her blackness, wanting to have blue eyes and blonde hair. The story is not for the faint of heart. It's very tough to read at certain points, but what it stands for is why it's one of my favorites. It was beautifully written, and it made me think, like, well, if this is Black girlhood, then we have to do something about this. We have to change this. We have to do something to help Black girls be children while they still are children. Okay, so my next book is Before You Suffocate Your Own Fool Self by Danielle Evans. And this book was suggested to me in grad school when I told one of my teachers I like to write about Black girlhood. And this is a collection of short stories. This is Danielle Evans' first book, and I think she's currently working on another one, I'm not sure. But she used to also teach at American University, and that's where I got my graduate degree from. But I even talked to her, and I ended up crying in her office. But this book is important to me because I was reading it at a really rough time. I entered grad school at 21 years old and eventually turned 22 a few weeks after starting. But the change was difficult for me, and also being like in another majority white space, I thought it would get easier, but it was still hard. It was still difficult. I wasn't really connecting with the subject matter that was being taught in our classes, and it was almost like they were classes that I didn't sign up for in a way. It wasn't, a lot of what I was taking was not what I came to grad school to study. So that was difficult, and then I found a way to read something and discuss something that was interesting to me, and this book right here was that. And it really got me through that hard time. It was something that I could relate to, and I enjoyed reading, so I wrote about it. This is the original copy that I have. I marked up one of the stories a lot because I wrote a paper on it. And I don't like that paper anymore. My views have changed. But I needed another copy because I can't really read this one. And the first story in here, which I wrote the paper on, is my favorite story out of the collection. So, moving forward, the next book is a book that I found in a graduate seminar as well. And this one is The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I took a Faulkner and Virginia Woolf class. I think it was focusing on, I'm sorry, I can't remember what type of literature they write, but it's a style of literature that they are considered both being a part of, and I'll have to annotate that in this video. But The Waves, I was not a fan of Mrs. Dalloway. To the Lighthouse is okay. Remember One Zone is okay, but when I read The Waves, man, this one got to me, and it is so beautiful, you guys. So this book is about a group of friends and their kind of lives, how they separate and how they come back together. But it's just so beautifully written. It has so many tabs because I also wrote a paper on this. Yes, I write a lot of papers on books I actually like. It makes it helps. I shouldn't say it makes it easier, but it helps. It was just so beautifully written. I don't know if I can say that anymore. And it made me cry about how beautiful the words were in the story. There was just something that really kind of sunk into my spirit about this book. And this is what showed me how great Virginia Woolf is as a writer. Her other books, they're good, but I feel like this is the slept on classic. I feel like this should be the work she's known for. And so my next book is a graphic novel, and this is the complete collection of Mouse by Art Spiegelman. So this book is a take on his father's real story of being in the Holocaust. So in this book, the Jews are mice and the Nazis are cats, and it creates a bit of emotional distance to an extent. There was a scene in here. I just show you some of the pages. There was a scene in here that really got to me, and something about that scene just made me kind of remember, oh my God, this actually happened. This is actually somebody's life. This is more than a story. And this kind of showed me also the power of a graphic novel. So I was also in like a graduate school graphic novel class, and this is one of the texts we read, and we actually spent a lot of time on this book. So yeah, Mouse. I can't have enough good things to say about this collection of graphic novels. I don't think Art Spiegelman is known for any other work other than this. Like, he has other works, but this is definitely like his standout. I feel like he won a Pulitzer Prize for this as well. So yeah, I would definitely suggest you pick it up, especially if you're interested in the Holocaust. This gives a more personal touch on the events that happened, but it doesn't make it any easier to read. And yes, I read a lot of heavy stuff, if that isn't obvious. And so the next is a collection of poetry. If you just watched my post-election book haul, then you know this collection is from Claudia Rankine. This is Don't Let Me Be Lonely, an American lyric. This book is about what it means to be lonely in America. I argue that it's about how it feels to be a minority and the loneliness that comes with being a minority in America. A lot of other people disagree with me on that, but I think the evidence is in here. So if you ask me, that's what I'm going to tell you. But it also kind of deals with the type of like pills and things like that Americans try to use to kind of get over their loneliness, to get over depression, and the state that puts you there. And I was not a big fan of poetry until I read this collection. She has like, this has a lot of notes, but she has like pictures in here, and she's talking about the things she's seen on television. This was a really important part of the book where she is talking about some victims of police brutality and being murdered by the police. So this one is Abner Louima. So he unfortunately was taken into custody and sodomized by the police. And this is Adamu Diallo. I hope I'm saying that right. And he was shot by the police while he was trying to pull out his wallet. He was shot multiple times. And those actually happened like when I was younger. So I didn't know much about those incidents until reading this book. But she has such an interesting way of putting prose, poetry, and art together. So that also made me cry. I think all these books made me cry. I think we can just assume that that's true. And so my last book, and the book that I found this year, is Jesmyn Ward's Men We Reaped. I can't rave about this memoir enough. It is about 5 men that died in her life and how she had to deal with their deaths. All of them were special to her in their own way, and all of them died probably before the age of 25. I was kind of skeptical about this book in that it focused on the death of Black men, but it was her memoir. So I was like, okay, so is she focusing her life on the death of men? But this is why she's a great writer. She writes around those deaths, and she uses those deaths to kind of talk about her life and how they affected the women in her life. So it goes so much in this book. I think it's probably one of her best pieces, if not the best piece. I know this is like, it's this book. She has Salvage the Bones, which is her novel, and she edited The Fire this time. But I think this is her standout work, and to be honest, I don't know if she could top this. Like, and I don't mean that as like a dig, but I mean, man, this book is great, and I feel like it should have won more awards, even though she won awards for Salvage the Bones. But anyways, yes, please pick this up. I just picked up 2 extra copies of this book that I'm probably going to give one in a giveaway. But if you want to put like the idea of like statistics about being poor, black, and in the South, this is the book that you need to give faces to those statistics. Alright, so hopefully this gives you an idea of about like who I am and who I am as a reader a little bit more than maybe like my book wrap-ups in a haul would. And let me know if you've read any of these books, if you might want to pick up any of these books as well. Okay, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon. Bye!